The message was clear: humanity was calling in a debt that had been long overdue. And the galaxy, suddenly and without warning, was terrified. Admiral Korath of the Hegemony Council read the transmission 3 times before the words truly sank in. The humans, those insignificant creatures from the backwater spiral arm, were requesting an audience. Not begging, not pleading, requesting. As if they had any right to stand before the powers that ruled 1,000 worlds. Delete it, Korath commanded his aide, a crystalline being whose species had served the hegemony for millennia. The humans have nothing we need to hear. But the aide hesitated, its faceted form catching the light of distant stars. Sir, they mention the Covenant of Zirion. The debt from the Terran Accord of 2387. Korath's 4 eyes narrowed. The Covenant of Zirion, a treaty so old, so forgotten that most beings alive today had never heard of it. A minor agreement signed with a species that barely possessed interstellar travel, promising aid and protection in exchange for certain considerations. Considerations that had never been fulfilled. That was over 2 centuries ago, Korath said dismissively. They were paid what they deserved: survival. Nothing more. Yet even as he spoke, something cold crawled up his spine. The humans had been quiet for too long. After the hegemony had abandoned them during the Zephyrian invasion, after their colonies had burned while the Council deliberated endlessly, humanity had simply disappeared from galactic politics. No demands, no protests, no desperate pleas for justice. Silence. And now, after 200 years of silence, they were calling in the dead. The Galactic Council chamber had not seen such tension in decades. Representatives from dozens of species filled the vast amphitheater, their voices creating a cacophony of concern and confusion. At the center of it all stood 3 humans, unremarkable by galactic standards, small and fragile-looking compared to the towering Zephyrians or the armored Corvani. The lead human, a woman with steel-gray hair and eyes like winter storms, stepped forward. Her name was Elena Vasquez, and she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had nothing left to lose. Honored Council, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. We come before you today not as supplicants, but as creditors. A ripple of nervous laughter echoed from the gallery. The hegemony's representative, a being of living metal called Thane, 9, activated its vocal systems with a mechanical whir. Creditors? It asked, the word dripping with synthetic disdain. What could a species of primitives possibly be owed by the powers that govern the galaxy? Elena smiled, and something in that expression made the laughter die. 237 years ago, humanity signed the Covenant of Zirion. We provided the Council with detailed star charts of the Outer Rim, mining rights to 17 systems, and our word that we would serve as a buffer against the void touched. In return, you promised protection and partnership. Ancient history, Korath interjected from his seat. And you were compensated. We were abandoned. Elena's voice cut through his words like a blade. When the Zephyrians came, when our colonies burned, when our children died in the vacuum of space, where was the mighty Council? Where was our protection? The chamber fell silent. Even the translators seemed to pause, as if the words carried weight that transcended language. You thought we were small, insignificant, Elena continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. You never understood that we thrive when we're underestimated. Thane 9's optical sensors flickered. What do you want, human? Reparations? Territory? We can negotiate. We want to repay the debt. The words hung in the air like a physical presence. Council members exchanged confused glances, their various appendages twitching with uncertainty. Repay? Korath asked slowly. What debt could you possibly, The debt of being forgotten, Elena said softly. The debt of being dismissed. The debt of being written off as irrelevant. She gestured, and the chamber's central holographic display activated. What appeared there sent a collective gasp through the assembled delegates. Star charts. Hundreds of them, showing fleet movements, supply lines, and defensive positions. But not just any fleets. These were the hidden reserves of the major powers, the secret military installations that weren't supposed to exist, the black sites where the Council conducted its darkest business. For 2 centuries, while you forgot we existed, we remembered everything, Elena said, her voice carrying an edge that made the hardened warriors in the chamber shift uncomfortably. Every slight, every betrayal, every moment you chose to look away while our people suffered. The display shifted, showing communication intercepts, financial records, and detailed intelligence reports. Information that should have been impossible for any species to obtain, let alone one the Council considered beneath their notice. The universe will remember the day humanity repaid the debt, Elena continued, her words echoing off the chamber walls. And it will remember how we made them fear us. Korath rose from his seat, his massive form casting shadows across the assembly. This is espionage. This is an act of war. No, Elena replied calmly. This is payment in full. The display changed again, and this time, the gasps turned to cries of alarm. Fleet positions in real time, showing massive human formations positioned at strategic points throughout the galaxy. Ships that shouldn't exist, technology that defied current understanding, and most terrifying of all, the sheer number of vessels bearing human designations. You mocked us, you ignored us, but now you'll never forget us, Elena said, her voice carrying across the stunned silence. While you played your political games, we built. While you squabbled over territory, we prepared. While you assumed we would remain forever grateful for scraps, we became something else entirely. A new voice spoke from the shadows at the edge of the chamber, Admiral Sarah Chun, commander of the human deep space fleet. Her uniform bore no insignia of rank that the Council would recognize, but the way she moved, the way the other humans deferred to her, spoke of authority earned through blood and sacrifice. The galaxy's greatest mistake was assuming we'd remain forgotten, Chen said, stepping into the light. For 200 years, we've been patient. We've watched your wars, your politics, your endless cycle of dominance and submission. And we've learned. The holographic display now showed something that made even the most hardened council members recoil in shock. A massive structure, clearly artificial, positioned at the edge of the galactic core. It dwarfed even the legendary hegemony citadels, its surface crackling with energy that registered off the scale of known physics. You wanted to forget us? Chen asked, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of accumulated grievance. We'll make sure you can't. Thane 9's optical array focused on the display with mechanical precision. What is that? That, Elena said with quiet satisfaction, is Prometheus Station. Our gift to the galaxy. A demonstration of what happens when you underestimate the ingenuity of a species with nothing left to lose. The energy readings from the station spiked, and across the galaxy, monitoring systems in every major capital began screaming warnings. Not weapons fire, something far more profound. The very fabric of hyperspace began to ripple, sending shockwaves through the quantum foam that connected every star system in the galaxy. It's not the size of the army, it's the power of the resolve that fights it, Elena said, watching as the council members frantically tried to contact their respective governments. You taught us that lesson when you left us to die. Now we're teaching it to you. The implications hit the council like a physical blow. The humans hadn't just built a weapon. They had built something that could affect the fundamental nature of galactic civilization itself. Every hyperspace lane, every FTL communication, every aspect of interstellar society depended on the stability of the quantum substrate. And the humans had just demonstrated they could manipulate it at will. Korath's voice was barely a whisper. What do you want? Elena's smile was cold as the void between stars. Recognition. Respect. A seat at the table where the galaxy's future is decided. Not as supplicants, but as equals. And if we refuse? Then you'll discover what 2 centuries of human engineering can accomplish when properly motivated, Admiral Chun replied. We've already shown you we can find anything, go anywhere, and build what we choose. The question is, do you want us as partners, or would you prefer to find out what we're capable of as enemies? The chamber erupted in chaos as delegates tried to process the magnitude of what they were witnessing. Communications flooded in from across the galaxy as the effects of Prometheus Station's demonstration rippled outward, affecting everything from cargo shipments to military deployments. But Elena Vasquez stood calmly in the center of it all, watching as the powers that had ruled the galaxy for millennia scrambled to understand their new reality. This was not revenge, she said, her voice somehow carrying over the din. This was justice. And the galaxy now knows the price of underestimating humanity. As the council chamber descended into barely controlled pandemonium, one truth became crystal clear to every being present. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had repaid their debt in full, and the interest had been 2 centuries in the making. The age of being forgotten was over. The age of being feared had begun. And somewhere in the depths of space, Prometheus Station hummed with the power to reshape the very foundations of galactic civilization, a reminder that the humans had not just survived their abandonment, they had transcended it. The debt was paid. The galaxy would remember. Forever.